You know that feeling, right? When life just throws you something huge.
Yeah, that curveball moment.
Exactly. Like your whole foundation feels gone. Maybe it's, I don't know, losing a job or getting sick or dealing with addiction.
Something just completely overwhelming.
Right. And you know you have to rebuild, but how? Like, where do you even begin when you feel like you've got nothing left?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's the ultimate starting over challenge. And imagine facing that.
But magnified.
Exactly. Magnified by homelessness, maybe chronic addiction, deep trauma,
No job, no support.
yes, severed relationships, maybe no basic qualifications. Rebuilding from that point, well, it's way beyond just finding a bed for the night, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's fun.
It's about constructing a completely new identity, a new skill set, a new way of just navigating the world.
And that huge task, that monumental effort, that's really what rescue missions are all about, isn't it? We often think of them, providing the immediate stuff, a bed, a meal.
Which is critical, life-saving work, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely crucial. But what the sources we've been digging into really show is that modern missions are doing so much more. They're deeply involved in equipping people for the long haul.
Right, giving them the practical tools and also the inner strength to build a future that actually lasts.
Okay, so that's the heart of our deep dive today then. We've got this stack of sources, research reports looking at curriculum use, program summaries, details on specific courses, even like textbook lists and certifications.
Yeah, a real cross-section of materials. And our goal, our mission for this dive, is to really unpack how these organizations are tackling that rebuilding process, specifically through structured learning and using external resources.
So what are the specific tools, the third-party programs, the curricula they're using?
Exactly. What are they, why these particular ones, and how do they all fit together into this, holistic vision of transformation and recovery?
It's like we're looking inside the toolbox they offer clients. What's actually in there?
That's a great way to put it. What's in the educational and practical tool belt?
Okay, let's really get into it. Because diving into these sources, one of the first things that jumped out, at least to me, was this clear evolution. Rescue missions today aren't just about crisis management.
Not at all. There's a major strategic investment happening in education, in skill building, in therapeutic support, all aimed at that deep long-term change.
And that shift seems driven by just how complex the needs are, right? People don't usually walk in with just one problem.
Almost never. They typically arrive facing this confluence of challenges, addiction, maybe mental health issues, big gaps in their education or job history,
Financial problems.
financial illiteracy, yeah, often a history of significant trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the lacking positive support networks or spiritual anchor.
It's that whole tangled web. You can't just pull one thread.
Precisely, which means you need a multi-pronged approach. And the sources make it really clear. Addressing all these different facets requires a huge range of specialized knowledge.
Which would be almost impossible for one organization to develop entirely on its own.
Right. Imagine trying to create expert-level, accredited curricula for addiction science and trauma therapy and financial planning and vocational training and basic education, all from scratch.
Yeah, that's a massive undertaking.
So instead, what many missions are doing, and this is a key finding in the research, is strategically tapping into established external third-party programs and resources.
So they're plugging into existing expertise.
Exactly. It's not random. It's a deliberate strategy.
Right.
And these external tools, based on the sources, fall into several key categories, lining up with client needs. You've got job readiness, various kinds of recovery support, financial literacy, Bible and spiritual development, and even pathways towards accredited college credit.
We see that reflected in the program names mentioned, right? Things like Jobs for Life.
Yeah. Or Financial Peace University, the Chalmers Center.
Celebrate Recovery, Smart Recovery, Genesis Process.
And educational links through partners like City Vision University or platforms like Sailor.org.
Okay, so that raises the big why. What's the strategic thinking behind using external programs instead of just building everything in-house?
Well, the sources point to several key advantages. First, it gives missions access to specialized expertise. These external programs have often been developed and refined over years by people who are experts in, say, addiction science or educational tech or a specific trade.
So you get that depth of knowledge without having to cultivate it all internally.
Right. And it often means tapping into proven models, programs with, an established track record, plus using recognized external programs or certifications can provide validation.
Validation. How so?
Well, validation for the training clients receive. It boosts credibility with the clients themselves, with partner organizations, and importantly with funders.
Ah, the funding angle. Makes
And
sense.
sometimes, frankly, it's just more efficient. Adopting an existing proven curriculum can save a lot of time and resources compared to developing something similar from the ground up, not reinventing the wheel, essentially.
Expertise, proven results, validation, efficiency. Seems like a solid rationale. Okay, let's start unpacking that tool belt then. Where do we begin? Maybe with what feels like the most critical starting point for so many, addiction recovery and mental health?
Absolutely foundational.
Yep.
For so many people coming into missions, addiction, trauma, mental health challenges, these are the primary obstacles to just achieving basic stability. And the sources highlight several key external programs missions are using here.
Celebrate Recovery comes up a lot.
It does. It's specifically cited as the most widely used Christ-centered recovery program in these contexts. It uses that familiar 12-step style.
But with a key difference.
A very key difference. It explicitly identifies Jesus Christ as the higher power. That distinguishes it sharply from secular programs like AA or NA. It started at Saddleback Church, but it's grown huge, like 5 million participants, 35,000 partner groups globally.
Wow.
Yeah. And missions like Orange County Rescue Mission, Union Rescue Mission in LA, they're mentioned as users. Missions can plug in different ways, become official sites, which involves training.
Costs involved there, presumably?
Oh yeah, training for leaders, commitment. Or they might just use the core materials in their own groups, or even just refer clients out to local CR meetings. The main ongoing cost is usually the leader guides and the participant workbooks.
Okay. Then there's Smart Recovery, which sounds like it's coming from a completely different angle.
A very different angle. Smart recovery self-management and recovery training is explicitly described as secular and science-based. But what's really interesting, and the sources point this out,
Is that some missions use both?
exactly. It's not necessarily an either-or. Places like Las Vegas Rescue Mission, Downtown Mission of Windsor, Union Gospel Mission of Portland, they're noted as using smart recovery alongside their faith-based offerings.
That blend feels really significant. What does that tell us?
It suggests a really pragmatic approach, doesn't it? It's about giving clients a range of tools that might work for them. They can offer the spiritual framework of, say, celebrate recovery, but also provide access to techniques grounded in psychology.
Like CBT.
Exactly. Cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavior therapy, those are central to smart recovery. So it's addressing recovery from both the spiritual and the psychological perspective. Comprehensive support.
Got it. Another one mentioned frequently is the Genesis process. What's unique about that one?
Genesis process kind of sits in its own space. It's described as combining a biblical foundation with insights from the neuroscience of addiction.
Okay, interesting mix.
Yeah. The aim isn't just stopping the behavior, but getting to the root causes of self-destructive patterns. It looks at things through a spiritual lens, but also considers brain chemistry, subconscious triggers, core beliefs.
So digging deeper into the why behind the addiction.
That's the idea.
Mm.
Developing really personalized relapse prevention plans based on that deeper understanding. It's noted as having a proven track record used globally,
Right.
including at the mission where it was developed, Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, and others like Providence RM, Open Door in Rochester.
Is it intensive to implement?
It requires a real investment, particularly in staff training. Key staff have to go through specific Genesis counselor training back in 2021. That was like a week-long intensive, costing several $100s per person. Plus ongoing costs for the client workbooks, maybe $500 for a case of 25.
But there's an educational link.
Yes, a major plus mentioned is that the Genesis Process curriculum actually offers college credit through City Vision University. So it creates this direct pathway from deep recovery work into accredited education.
That's powerful. Now, beyond these core recovery models, the sources really emphasize addressing trauma. It seems unavoidable in this population.
Almost always present, yeah.
Yeah.
And addressing it isn't optional for lasting recovery. It's essential. The sources identify specific structured external programs for this. There's the ACE Overcomers program.
ACE as in Adverse Childhood Experiences.
Exactly. Used at Las Vegas Rescue Mission, it provides evidence-based classes to help people understand and process the impact of those early negative experiences. Then there's Seeking Safety.
Also evidence-based.
Yes, an evidence-based model specifically for trauma and substance abuse. Often used in group therapy, sometimes noted as gender-specific, maybe more often for women. Las Vegas RM uses it. And then Helping Men Recover is highlighted again. Gender-specific, trauma-informed, uses structured manuals and workbooks. also at Las Vegas RM.
Using these specialized curricula really shows an understanding that healing those past wounds is fundamental.
It has to be part of the process. You also see mentions of foundational discipleship materials being used, like the Purple Book and Living Free. Union Gospel Mission of Sioux Falls uses these as core components for spiritual growth and self-awareness, building that inner stability.
It's interesting, too, that some missions are incorporating formal clinical assessment tools. That feels like a step towards integrating with mainstream healthcare.
It really does. Las Vegas Rescue Mission, again, is mentioned using the DSM-5-TR, that's the standard diagnostic manual for mental health professionals for actual diagnosis.
Wow, okay.
And they use the ASAM criteria from the American Society of Addiction Medicine to figure out the right level of care for each client. Basically, how much support does this person need based on their specific situation? Using these tools shows a level of clinical sophistication. It integrates the mission's work with standard practices in the broader addiction and mental health field.
And even just mentioning therapeutic approaches like CBT or DBT suggests they're using structured materials, right? Not just talking about the concepts loosely.
Almost certainly. CBT, DBT.
Mhm.
These are complex frameworks. When sources mention CBT-based psychotherapy, like at Jubilee Ministries, or CBT-DBT-based education, like Guiding Light or Downtown Mission of Windsor, they're very likely using published manuals, workbooks, structured curricula based on these evidence-based models. They're teaching specific techniques.
And of course, there's still the reliance on classic external support groups.
Oh, absolutely. Connecting clients with community-based AA and NA meetings is still a crucial standard practice. It links them into those broader peer support networks beyond the mission walls.
Okay, so the recovery landscape is incredibly rich, blending faith, science, trauma care, clinical tools, using a whole suite of external resources. Now, once someone starts getting a handle on those core issues, the next huge step is often education. Many clients might have gaps there.
Huge gaps, yeah. Maybe dropped out of high school, maybe never had certain opportunities. So filling those gaps, building foundational academic skills, getting formal credentials, that's critical for employment and self-sufficiency down the line, and missions are leveraging online learning platforms for this.
Like Edmonton.
Right, Los Angeles Mission uses the Edmonton Learning System in their learning center. These kinds of platforms offer structured, often self-paced, online courses in various subjects. It lets clients work at their own level, build skills, maybe prep for exams like the GED.
And Sailor.org popped up, the key there being it's free.
That's a big deal. Sailor.org offers free online courses. Central Union Mission in D.C. is mentioned, partnering with them to give their residents access to courses that could potentially lead to certifications or even college credit. That removes a major financial barrier.
And it connects to other pathways.
Yes. Importantly, the sources note City Vision University accepts Sailor.org credits, so you can see this potential pathway. Start with free online courses, build confidence in credits, then transition into an accredited degree program.
Getting a GED is obviously a huge milestone for many people.
A game changer. It's that widely recognized high school equivalency. And some missions make it much easier by becoming official testing sites themselves. Rockford Rescue Mission, for example, is an accredited Pearson VUE site.
Meaning clients can test right there.
Exactly. Study there, take the GED test there, maybe even other professional certification exams. It removes a lot of the logistical hassle and maybe some anxiety around going to an unfamiliar testing center.
We keep mentioning City Vision University. Let's unpack that connection a bit more.
It's a really unique partnership. City Vision was literally founded by the rescue mission movement. Its specific purpose is serving urban ministry folks and, crucially, the population served by rescue missions.
So it's tailor-made.
Very much so. They offer accredited online courses and degrees designed for this context. So missions can essentially outsource the accredited college-level piece to City Vision rather than building it themselves. And a critical point for accessibility, the sources emphasize that Pell Grants often cover the entire cost for eligible students.
Making college genuinely attainable.
Right. And City Vision also runs that website, rescuemissioncurriculum.org, which reviews curricula relevant to missions, kind of acting as a resource hub.
Okay, so we have pathways from basic academics right up to college credit, using these external platforms and partnerships. But that jump to actual employment often needs very specific job skills. Vocational training seems key.
Absolutely, the next crucial piece. Clients need skills, and often credentials, that employers actually recognize and value. This is where missions bring in specific, industry-recognized external certification programs.
ServSafe is a really clear example.
Perfect example. That's the standard food safety certification you need for tons of jobs in restaurants, hospitality. Missions like Rockford RM, Cherry Street, Haven of Rest offer the training and help clients get tested. The resources all come from the National Restaurant Association, online courses, textbooks, the test itself, often administered through Pearson VUE. Getting that ServSafe certificate is a concrete, marketable credential.
And safety certifications, too, like OSHA.
Yep, OSHA certification comes up. Understanding workplace safety standards is valuable across many industries. Missions like Rockford RM and Union Gospel Mission Dallas, through a partner called Oasis Center, provide this training. It shows an employer the person understands basic safety protocols.
The forklift certification seems even more targeted, like a specific trade skill.
It is, and it really illustrates gaining a practical hands-on credential. Rockford RM, Union Gospel Mission Dallas, again via Oasis Center, facilitate this. But the sources are careful to detail the OSHA requirement here. It's a two-part process.
Not just an online course.
No. You need the formal instruction, which can be done online through providers like OSHA Education Center, Certifying.net, places like that. But you also must have a hands-on practical evaluation conducted by someone qualified. That might be the employer themselves or a local training provider. The sources even give an example, ROI Safety Services in California.
So the online part isn't enough on its own.
Absolutely not. The sources stress that. The hands-on evaluation is mandatory, and ultimately, the employer is responsible for making sure their operators are certified on the specific equipment they use. Missions help get the training done, sometimes facilitate the evaluation, but that employer link is key.
That level of detail really shows how missions are helping people navigate the real-world requirements of getting certified for specific jobs. Now, beyond these specific certs, there are broader job readiness programs mentioned.
Right, like Jobs for Life, JFL. That's described as a widely used evangelical program. Its core idea is pairing churches or ministries with local employers to help people who are unemployed or underemployed find meaningful work. It involves a structured class using their curriculum, plus building that employer network.
And they claim pretty good results.
They report a 72% job placement rate across their sites, which is definitely attention-grabbing. Implementing it requires staff to go through specific JFL core training, cost about $229 per person in 2021, plus buying the curriculum. Atlanta Mission, the Bowery Mission are examples of users.
And then there's that ACT National Career Readiness Certificate, the NCRC.
Another valuable credential. It's based on the ACT Work Keys assessments, which measure foundational skills needed for workplace success. Things like applied math, reading charts and graphs, graphic literacy, and understanding workplace documents.
So it proves core readiness.
Exactly. It's nationally recognized, helps job seekers stand out. There are different achievement levels, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, showing increasing skill levels. And there are tons of prep resources available, both official AC2 materials and lots of free third-party practice tests online from sites like Job Test Prep, Mometrix, Union Test Prep, plus paid study guides. Foundry Ministries uses this pathway, partnering with Hope Inspired Ministries, whose curriculum is based on an Alabama program called ACE, designed specifically to prep for the NCRC. It's another example of leveraging an external provider to target a specific, recognized credential.
And we can't forget basic computer skills, still essential.
Oh, absolutely. Microsoft Office training, mentioned at Wheeler Mission and Haven of Rest, uses standard external resources. And beyond these, missions partner for specific vocational tracks, culinary arts, welding, building trades, hospitality, often linking up with community colleges or specialized training groups like TG Academy mentioned with Union Gospel Mission Dallas. And City Vision even offers a course specifically on job search strategies, using texts like Knock 'em Dead, teaching the actual process of finding work.
Okay, wow. Getting skills, getting certified, getting job ready, huge steps. But earning money is only half the battle, right? Managing it is just as critical for long-term stability.
Non-negotiable. Financial literacy is absolutely vital. You can have a good job, but if you can't manage the money, you might end up back in crisis. The sources highlight two main external programs missions use here.
Financial Peace University seems to be everywhere.
Dave Ramsey's FPU is definitely described as the most widely used Christian personal finance course in these mission settings. The goal is pretty straightforward. Teach people how to manage money wisely from a biblical viewpoint. Budgeting, debt, saving.
The basics.
The core basics. It's reached millions of people. Missions like Capital City RM, Orlando RM use it. The cost is usually per student for the materials workbooks, online access. Back when the sources were compiled, a 5-chapter program was around $34 $4. A 12-chapter maybe $95 per person. And again, City Vision integrates FPU materials into their accredited GEN 103 personal finance course, alongside other texts like Managing God's Money.
Then there's the Chalmers Center program, Faith and Finances. That sounded different, more targeted.
Yes, it's presented as a distinct alternative designed specifically for adults with low income. It's typically a longer program, maybe 12 weeks. What makes it unique is its focus on the specific financial hurdles people in poverty often face, things standard courses might miss, like dealing with predatory lenders, building positive banking relationships, navigating benefit systems.
Oh, more context specific.
Exactly. It blends practical skills with biblical principles of stewardship, but also strongly emphasizes building supportive relationships within the group. It aims for that holistic flourishing. Implementing it requires facilitator training and online course costing around $294 per person standard, though Citygate members got a discount. Plus costs for participant guides, maybe meals or childcare. Everett Gospel Mission, Peoria Rescue Mission were listed as users.
Having those two prominent options is interesting. One broad Christian approach, one very tailored to the low-income context.
It shows an understanding that financial challenges look different depending on your circumstances. The sources also mentioned a workbook-style program, New Beginnings, financial training, used by Topeka RM via Family Promise, suggesting a structured lesson format.
Okay, so we've hit recovery, education, job skills, finance, all crucial practical tools. But rebuilding a life goes deeper, right? It's about the interperson character, relationships, health, purpose, spiritual growth.
Absolutely. You can't separate those things. Holistic transformation requires addressing the whole person, and missions are using external curricula for these areas too.
For straight-up spiritual development, LPHA was mentioned.
Right, the LPHA USA curriculum. Union Gospel Mission of Tarrant County uses it. LPHA is well known for exploring Christian faith, usually a video, then small group chat. Missions use it for structured spiritual development days, giving clients a framework to discuss faith questions.
And those core materials, the Popal Book and Living Free, they fit here too for discipleship.
Definitely. Union Gospel Mission Sioux Falls uses them as core materials for spiritual growth, self-awareness, building that internal foundation within a faith context.
Any other specific Bible study resources popping up?
Yeah, Wheeler Mission uses a Behold Your God study daily in their recovery program, suggesting a specific published series. Haven of Rest mentioned a client using the Life Application Bible Study, another very popular, widely available study Bible resource. And Evansville RM uses a self-confrontation book study for spiritual growth, pointing to a structured approach to biblical self-reflection.
And those City Vision Wounded Healers courses seem to cover a huge range of life skills, using specific books as their curriculum base.
They really do. They function like structured life skills modules, but at an accredited college level. MIN 101 on vocation uses books like Tim Keller's Every Good Endeavor and Reid Hoffman's The Startup of You to help people develop career plans grounded in purpose and strengths. MIN 104 on recovery and self-care uses practical guides like the Addiction Recovery Workbook alongside spiritual texts like Restore My Soul, helping clients build long-term recovery plans.
Emotional intelligence, too. It's getting so much focus these days.
And missions are addressing it formally. City Vision's MIN 206 course teaches discerning and managing emotions from a Christian perspective, using tools like the Biblical Discase Assessment and texts like Transforming Fellowship, The Other Half of Church, and Daniel Goleman's Working with Emotional Intelligence. GEN 110 on Holistic Health uses the Daniel Plan book focusing on faith, food, fitness, focus, friends, and guides clients through tracking a 40-day health plan alongside a standard text like Total Fitness and Wellness.
It's impressive how they're tackling even complex family dynamics and modern issues like tech addiction.
It shows a really comprehensive view of well-being. ADC 202 on Family Issues and Recovery uses text like Addiction in the Family and Changes That Heal to explore addiction's impact on family systems and help clients process their own family history. And recognizing today's world, ADC 307 on Technology, Life Balance, and Behavioral Addictions uses books like The TechWise Family and The Digital Invasion to help clients set healthy boundaries with technology and address issues like gaming or social media addiction.
The scope is genuinely surprising.
It is. And beyond those courses, you see things like the book Success for Teens, used at Evansville RM's Youth Center for Decision-Making Skills, or the Bridges Out of Poverty program used at Open Door Mission in Glens Falls, which helps the whole community, including staff, understand poverty dynamics better. Even staff training like TBRI Trust-Based Relational Interventions at Topeka RM, though for staff, is a structured external model based on trauma research that shapes how they interact with clients, creating a more therapeutic environment through specific relational techniques.
Seeing this huge menu of tools, how do missions actually weave them together for a specific person? The sources gave some examples of program structures, right?
They did. And looking at those helps see the journey. Wheeler Mission's Biblical Counseling Program, for instance, it's tiered.
Hmm,
A 100-level basic certificate, then a 200-level advanced one that builds on the first.
a clear pathway.
Yeah. Level 100 is foundational discipleship, applying scripture to life issues, courses on relationships, life-dominating issues, evangelism. Level 200 goes deeper into theology, systematic theology I3, and practical ministry skills, including practicums in biblical counseling and servant leadership. Uses self-study, small groups, class time. It's a pathway from personal change, potentially towards ministry leadership.
And St. Matthew's House had that modular plan.
Right. Their men's training plan is structured as a series, typically 10 4-week modules. It lays out a whole journey, starts with Intro to 12-Step Recovery, then modules integrating faith and the steps to your Christian life, declaration of personal faith, then confronting the past, admission, confession, mind renewal,
Seems very recovery focused in the beginning.
explicitly integrating recovery and faith. Then it moves to healing relationships, forgiveness, amends, inner healing. And the final modules bring in practical life skills, financial stewardship, which specifically mentions using Dave Ramsey's FPU materials.
Ah, so that's where FPU plugs in for them. Exactly. Then sexual integrity, and finally, vocation and calling. That modular sequence shows how they integrate recovery, faith, healing, and practical skills like finance and work into a step-by-step process, clearly embedding external tools like FPU at the right point in the journey.
Those examples really drive home how strategic missions are in sequencing these diverse external tools. And it's crystal clear they don't do this in a vacuum. Partnerships seem absolutely essential.
Couldn't do it without them. Collaboration is key for extending their reach, getting specialized expertise, and offering credentials they couldn't issue themselves.
Especially partnerships with colleges and universities, those seemed quite common. Very common and varied. Los Angeles Mission works with Belmont Adult School for certified teachers, Angeles Bible Institute for Bible credits. Bay Area RM partners with Contra Costa College for Culinary Arts College credit. Cherry Street and Jimmy Hale work with community colleges for vocational training and learning centers. Union Gospel Mission Salem partners with Chimacas CC, even helping cover expenses. Isaiah House has extensive links for GED, college, vocational training, even hosting a university welding program on site. Gospel Rescue Mission Tucson partners with Pima CC for job training.
That's a wide range of ways to bring in academic and vocational expertise.
It is. These partnerships give clients access to formal, accredited education, recognized credentials, specialized training leveraging the college's faculty, facilities, and accreditation in ways the mission often couldn't alone.
And City Vision University remains that unique, purpose-built partner.
It's exactly. Founded by missions, for missions. Offering those accredited, often Pell Grant-covered online courses tailored for this population. It lets missions easily integrate higher ed components. And City Vision accepting credits from other common mission programs like Genesis Process or Teen Challenge helps knit this whole ecosystem together.
And partnerships specifically for certifications, too.
Yep, like Union Gospel Mission Dallas partnering with Oasis Center for OSHA and Forklift or TG Academy for Hospitality Training, they link up with specialized providers.
And briefly, partnerships can extend into other areas like legal aid or healthcare.
Right. The sources mention things like Central Union Missions link with Christian legal aid or healthcare providers. While not purely curriculum, these partnerships provide essential support services that might include educational components and certainly create the stability needed for clients to focus on learning and recovery.
Okay, let's synthesize this. Thinking back across all these programs, curricula, books, partnerships, what are the main reasons, the core motivations driving missions to adopt all these external tools?
Based on the analysis and the reports, several key drivers stand out. Number one is definitely accessing specialized expertise. Missions can tap into deep knowledge in complex areas, addiction science, specific trades, therapy models like Genesis Process, or seeking safety without building it all in-house.
Bringing in the specialists.
Right, which ties into the second driver. Implementing evidence-based or widely accepted practices. Using curricula with research backing or broad recognition. Smart recovery, ACE overcomers, ASAM criteria, ServeSafe, NCRC boosts program quality and potential outcomes. It shows a commitment to what works.
And that provides standardization and recognition.
Yes, external tools bring consistency. And external certifications, GED, ServeSafe, OSHA, NCRC are portable, valuable credentials clients can take anywhere. That's huge.
Which in turn must enhance the mission's own credibility.
Absolutely. Using recognized, often evidence-informed approaches strengthens their standing with clients, partners, and especially funders who increasingly want to see proven methods.
And finally, that practical point about efficiency.
Can't overlook that. For many missions, especially smaller ones, adopting a ready-made, proven curriculum is just more efficient than starting from scratch. It saves time, saves resources. Using City Vision for outsourced teaching is a prime example.
Efficiency, expertise, credibility, standardization, validated approaches. Makes sense. But how do missions, most with a strong faith identity, navigate integrating these tools, especially the secular or clinical ones?
That's a fascinating part of the picture, and the sources show a blend. Some curricula, like Celebrate Recovery or the Purple Book, are explicitly Christian, so they fit seamlessly.
We thought plenty of secular tools used right alongside them.
Exactly. The common approach seems to be integration, blending secular or evidence-based tools, smart recovery, clinical assessments, vocational certs, CBT-DBT methods with the mission's core spiritual components like Bible study, chapel, spiritual guidance. It creates a hybrid model.
Aiming for holistic care.
Right. Addressing the whole person using the best tools available, whatever their origin. The Genesis process is interesting here, as it tries to intentionally bridge psychology and biblical concepts. And that Las Vegas RM example is telling clients don't have to be Christian, but must be open to Christian teaching while using evidence-based practices. It's pragmatic use what works, but grounded all in the mission's core values and spiritual purpose.
Stepping away from the big programs for a second, the sources also gave lots of detail on specific books and physical resources. It's not just about signing up for a course, it's about the actual materials in hand.
Yeah, that's important. Beyond the named programs, missions rely heavily on specific published books and workbooks as core curriculum. They provide that tangible, structured content. We saw the Purple Book and Living Free mentioned again. Also, the Behold Your God study, the Success for Teens book, the Self-Confrontation book study, that workbook like New Beginnings, financial training, even matrix treatment manual coursework.
And the City Vision courses listed specific textbooks, with costs even.
They did, which gives a really granular look at the content. MIN 101 Vocation, using Every Good Endeavor, and the Startup of You. MIN 104 Recovery, using the Addiction Recovery Workbook and Restore My Soul. MIN 206, Emotional Intelligence, using Transforming Fellowship, the other half of church, working with emotional intelligence. GGN 103, Finance, using Dave Ramsey's Complete Guide to Money and Managing God's Money, plus the FPU fee.
Health, Family, Technology, all had specific books listed.
Right. Genie 101 in Health, using Total Fitness and Wellness and the Daniel Plan, costs $63. ADC 202 Family, using Addiction to the Family and Changes That Heal, costs $65. ADC 307 Tech, using the TechWise family and the Digital Invasion. ORG 201 Job Search, using Knock 'em Dead. This focus on specific texts shows the value placed on established, published resources for delivering structured learning.
It gives a very concrete sense of the tools clients are actually working with.
It really does. These books provide the content, allow self-study or group discussion, target specific issues, and leverage existing expertise.
And just briefly, that vendor list from the Citygate conference, while not all curriculum, painted a picture of the broader support system.
Yeah, it's a glimpse into the necessary ecosystem. You see vendors for essential stuff, durable furniture for shelters, American bedding, ESS Universal, etc., hygiene products, release products, software for operations, mission trackers, even revenue streams like textile recycling, White House and Shapiro.
Plus things like art therapy or running programs.
Sacred Streets, using art, up and running. Again, using running more external resources for holistic support. The point is, you need that basic infrastructure, safe housing, clean facilities, necessities for clients to even be able to engage with the educational and therapeutic curricula we've been talking about. These vendors provide that foundation.
The base layer that makes the learning possible.
Exactly.
Okay, looking at this whole complex picture, the sources showed us what tools are being used. But what about the challenges? What questions remain unanswered according to the research?
The reports were pretty upfront about limitations. While we often know which tools are used, there is less public detail on how exactly they're implemented day to day in a specific mission. Which versions are they using? How deeply are they integrated? How do they adapt secular tools to fit their faith context and practice?
And the big one, measuring effectiveness within the mission itself.
That's a major gap identified. A program might have global stats, but we often don't see public data on how that specific mission's clients are doing after completing a particular program offered there. Beyond those info gaps, there are potential inherent challenges. The cost of some programs, training, materials can be prohibitive, especially for smaller missions. And adapting even good external curricula to the unique, complex needs of a mission-specific population takes real skill and effort internally.
Is there also a question about maybe relying too heavily on external expertise?
It's a potential long-term consideration implied in the sources. While efficient, does over-reliance potentially hinder the development of deep internal staff expertise in certain areas over time? It's a balancing act. These gaps and challenges show where we'd need more direct info from missions and maybe more standardized outcome tracking to get the full picture.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. It completely reframes the picture of rescue missions. They're clearly operating as sophisticated strategic organizations going way beyond just basic needs. We've seen this deliberate use of a huge range of external curricula, programs, books, partnerships.
Yeah, blending everything, faith-based approaches, evidence-informed practices, clinical tools, practical skill.
Right, across recovery, education, jobs, finances, life skills. It's comprehensive.
And it's clearly not random. It's a thoughtful strategy to bring in specialized expertise, gain credibility, offer clients real, portable skills, and recognized credentials. Ultimately, equipping people not just to get through the crisis, but to actually do that monumental work of rebuilding their lives, from the ground up, skill by skill.
It makes you think. Considering the sheer breadth and specificity of all these external tools being deployed from clinical manuals and neuroscience-informed recovery to detailed financial planning, forklift certifications, even tackling digital addictions. What does this incredibly multifaceted approach really tell us about the complex layers of support someone needs to truly break free from cycles of homelessness and addiction? And what does it suggest about the absolutely vital role that structured learning, leveraging expertise from wherever it comes, plays in transforming not just someone's circumstances, but maybe the very identity and hope for the future? Definitely something to mull over.